Hello everyone, just got the dictionary open here. Dereliction of duty. And there's two words in this dictionary. Neglect or failure. Neglect or failure. Dereliction of duty. Yesterday, while I was working, I remembered an incident that happened 2 winters ago, where we had some of the worst weather in this country, in the United Kingdom, for I think it was 30 years. We were warned a number of times, long before it arrived, that there were heavy snowstorms, blizzards, icy conditions, extremely low temperatures. Now, for other parts of the world, this is something that they're very used to. But here in the UK, as I'm sure everybody that lives in the UK that might be watching this, we get an inch of snow and everything comes to a grinding halt. The trains, the buses, everything. But on this particular occasion, there were a number of very serious warnings put out by the authorities. Be prepared, because it's on its way. It's coming tomorrow, or coming in 2 days' time. And if you're going anywhere and you're caught short, make sure you've got blankets, flasks, everything in your cars. If you're traveling, don't get caught short. If you can, stay away from the roads. So as we got to that particular stage, it was all very exciting, and then it started to hit. And the snow came, and it came, and came, and came. We had a lot of snow. And throughout the night it snowed. We woke up in the morning, and it was absolutely beautiful out there. Stunning. Everything was covered. And in some cases, many feet of snow. In fact, I remember there were some farmhouses out in the countryside completely buried. You couldn't see the houses. In fact, one farmer, I always distinctly remember standing next to his chimney, and he said, my house, my cottage farm is down there. All I've got is the chimney, and he was touching the top of the chimney. An amazing experience, not for him, I might add, and I'm not laughing at him, just at the experience of what this was all about. So what am I getting at here? Well, I've just sort of given you the grounding there of how serious the weather was. We had a circuit assembly in our local area for approximately 1,000 Jehovah's Witnesses. And we were all warned, as I've just explained, by the authorities, to stay away from the motorways, stay away from the B roads, just to stay away from roads. If you do not have to travel in a car, do not do it unless it's a life-threatening reason to get in that car. Stay away. And for those that were caught short days before, you could see on the news, on the TV, cars overturned, smashes everywhere, people trapped. It was a nightmare for a lot of people. And there was more snow on the way. And this is the interesting bit. Lots of snow on the way. The roads were covered in ice. The gritters were out trying to clear the roads as best they could before the next lot arrived. But the warnings were consistent from the authorities, from the highway patrol agencies, from the ambulance service, from the fire brigade, from the Met Office. Stay away from cars and the motorways. So my wife and I, we were waking up anyway, but I thought to myself, well, it's obviously cancelled this weekend coming. The circuit assembly will not take place. That's a given. Or was it? Well, the elders all got together from various areas. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. Maybe through phone calls. conference calls, to decide whether or not the 50-mile round trip should go ahead for the Circuit of Assembly on the Saturday and Sunday for 1,000 publishers. Now, when I say 50 miles, it was about 45 miles for us. For others it would have been more, for others it might have been less, but all of us would have been using the roads. So I was shocked to hear that there was a meeting taking place to even consider that this meeting should go ahead over the 2 days. Considering also that there was more bad weather on the way. Well, as it transpired, word got round that the meeting was to go ahead. That the elders, in their wisdom, had decided to defy the Met Office, defy the ambulance service, the fire brigade, the police, and the highways authority. They knew best. And that we should all make our ways to the Bristol Assembly Hall on that Saturday morning. My wife looked at me and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "It's a no-brainer, darling. I am not putting my children into a car and then placing them in harm's way. That is highly irresponsible and would be a dereliction of my duty, not only to my children, but to my wife and to myself. And indeed, a dereliction of duty to those that might have to come out and rescue me and put them also in harm's way when we've been warned to stay away from the roads. Romans chapter 13, be in subjection to the superior authorities. And on this occasion, what they're saying to us was, do not come onto the roads, you're putting yourself in danger. Listen to what we're saying. And guess what? We did. We stayed at home. We weren't the only ones. There were others that were very intimidated by the weather and felt that this would be, once again, for them and their households, a dereliction of duty to get into those cars and follow this reckless path. Unfortunately, there were many that decided to take heed of what the elders were saying, and they did get in their cars and they did take the risk and they did get to the assembly hall. Fortunately, as far as I know, nobody was killed. Fortunately, as far as I know, nobody was injured. There could have been accidents, but of course they're not going to report those, are they? What am I getting at here? Well, I think it's quite obvious to all that are watching this. Dereliction of duty. Failure. A failure to look after the health and safety of all those sheep that are in their flocks. For whatever reason it was, they decided to put at risk 1,000 people and fly in the face of all of that evidence that was saying to them, do not go on the roads. They flew in the face of all of that advice and they put in danger hundreds and hundreds of people. What happened afterwards was also very interesting. That those that did go made it very clear that they went. And we had people, including elders, saying, we noticed you weren't there at the meeting this weekend. with a disapproving frown on their faces. And I said, the reason we didn't go is because we were advised not to. We were told not to, warned not to. So we're very surprised that the meeting still went ahead. Well, of course the meeting still went ahead. We had a meeting about it and we decided that's what would happen. Mavis is 76 years of age. She turned up and she enjoyed herself for the weekend, but it's unfortunate you weren't there. There was no talk of the danger that they had put all those people in. Only the fact of those that didn't turn up. And that's my point here. That although they were willing to risk the lives of many hundreds of people through this very dangerous period of weather, all they were interested in talking about when they got back was to point the finger at those that didn't take the risks. What was also interesting was to see how others who follow the group-like think were relieved that they had gone and taken the risk and that they'd made it back, because now they could sit proud and cocky in the kingdom halls because they were spiritually strong enough to take the risk. It opened up my eyes to a number of different levels here, as to groupthink, as to adherence to elder policies and decision making, even if it meant risking your life to get there, blindly following what the elders tell them to do. I then relate that to this latest watch channel. Forgive me, I don't know the date, but most of you out there will understand which one I'm on about, where it talks about even when the messages are coming from the governing body that might seem strange, you must follow it to the letter, adhere to the letter, no matter what it says. So if we say jump off the top of the highest building in your town, you must do it. I wonder how many people will actually follow those orders when they come. We've seen Jonestown, we've seen how other cults falling apart end up leaving groups of people in a very derelict position emotionally, mentally, physically. What's going to happen to them if they're willing to take risks on small issues like this with the weather? Even though it wasn't a small issue, this was very profound bad weather. So that's my point. Were they looking after, and were they actually in a position to prove to the sheep that they were presiding over that they were looking after their best interests? No, they weren't. They were flying in the face of all of the authorities and the advice given, and we could have had potentially a very serious accident. One of those families could have died, could have been maimed, could have put other people in danger by having to come out and rescue them. But none of that mattered to these elders. And I find that deeply concerning, deeply worrying, that when things such as this come up, they can very quickly decide to ignore it. That's the end of my rant. I just wanted to share with you that this organisation does not care for the health and safety of its people. It really doesn't. And that's just one example that I can remember from 2 winters ago, where they proved to me, without a shadow of a doubt, that looking after the lives of those mothers and young children in particular was not on their priority list. Anybody with half a brain would have said, there's absolutely no way we're going to advise 1,000 people to get in their cars and start coming to this meeting. Nobody with an ounce of responsibility, care, love, empathy, call it what you will, a sense of responsibility to these individuals, would dare send those people out onto the roads. But this group did. And shame on them for doing that, putting people at risk. Shame on them. Just another window, just another opportunity to look into the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society and how it looks after its people. Not as the case may be. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.